I heard recently that grief is love with nowhere to go.
Yeah. But I also heard that grief is the highest form of love. Like it's the highest expression of love.
Hello, welcome to the Dr. Gill Show. This is where we talk about medical matters that matter to you. My guest today is Shadonica Dobbins, LMT.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to the show, Shadonica. People may know Shadonica as Shadonica Williams, but she was recently married and has taken the last name Dobbins.
Yes.
I've been so excited about interviewing you and to have you finally here on the podcast. It just makes me tremendously happy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Shadonica is just incredibly and multiply talented. The main subject matter of our talk today is going to be surviving trauma. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm anticipating this to be rather emotional. I've had some traumas in my life. You may have as well. And I just want to tell our listeners and our viewers if I start crying or something, because we're going to the heart of the matter. We're going to be talking about really deep, important stuff, I anticipate. But I would like to introduce Shadonica by way of how I met you. I spent much of my life in surgery in a pretzel position. You put that on top of some back injuries and some surgeries and blah, blah. And it's very physically taxing. And what gets me through these tough times, in addition to my own regimen and stretching and weightlifting and some chiropractic, is massage therapy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, my usual therapist, I couldn't make the therapist, and they called the studio where you were working and just scheduled me an appointment, and I randomly got you.
Yep.
And you can probably confirm this. There's 2 different clients that get massage therapy. Those that just want to lie there and be quiet and shut the hell up. Mm-hmm. And then there's the chatty patties. I like a bartender. You're there to chat. And I am a chatty patty.
Yes.
And as you gave me some amazing physical therapy and body work and whatnot, we started chatting. Mm-hmm. And I got to know you a little bit. And my first impression is like, oh my goodness, what a special human being.
Thank you.
You are. And I took a shine to you immediately. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad we've been able to continue our friendship over the years and grow together as human beings.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Shadonica does a lot of things. You are a licensed massage therapist and LMT. You're also a certified life and career coach.
Yes.
You work at the Life is Sweet Massage Therapy Studio. You're the program creator of the Glow Up Blueprint that I'd like to hear more about. Mm-hmm. You're trained in cosmetology. And you also speak to women affected by domestic violence.
Yes, that is true.
Wow.
That is true.
Where do we start? So maybe you can tell me, and if this is too personal, let me know, what got you interested in being a life coach and helping women through domestic violence and other traumas?
Well, I often joke that being a life coach is something that I've been my whole life. I just wasn't getting paid for it. Because for some reason, people just like to talk to me, and they come to me for advice or come to me for guidance, and mainly encouragement and motivation and inspiration, because I'm more like the motivator amongst my friend group and family group. So I just love it. I love to see when the light bulb comes on with people. I love to see people living up to their full potential, or working towards that at least. And I just love being a part of that. I'm a very high altruist person. I love to give. I'm a servant at heart, and I just love doing it. And then when I found out I could be certified to do it and learn more about doing it, I just jumped at the chance. And helping women is really near and dear to my heart because I'm a survivor myself of domestic violence, also childhood abuse. So it kind of all, sorry for hitting the mic, but it all goes together. So,
and you don't mind sharing your story?
Not at all.
I'm getting to a point where I don't mind sharing my story either. I'm 62 years old, and if you can get something from it, fine. If you can't, well, I bared my soul, and if that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
And it's therapeutic for us as well. So I don't mind it at all. And I feel like that's the reason I went through it. So why not share it so I can help somebody else? So, I mean, I don't believe that I was brought through it and healed from it and just to sit on it. Like, I'm a huge believer in God, and I believe that that's the reason why, we go through the things that we go through so we can help somebody else and pass it on and give him glory.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. One of my heroes is a guy named Jordan Peterson. He's so honest, he rubs people the wrong way sometimes. But he says life is suffering.
It is.
And he didn't invent that. He says that's been true forever. And how do we get through suffering and become better people and pass on the wisdom and the living by example is one of the great challenges in life and one of the things that can bring great meaning.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I touch on that in the Glow Up Blueprint, because the Glow Up Blueprint is basically a personal development program that I created to cultivate.
Tell me more about it, please.
Cultivate, the definition of cultivate is to encourage, refine, and improve. And I feel like that's what we should always be doing with our lives. Like, I don't have a green thumb. I just got into plants recently, so I did a little studying, about cultivation and encouragement and all that. And I'm like, that's exactly what I do with my girls, with my women. So it's like, why not call it that? So we just cultivate encouragement from the beginning, letting you know that this what you went through was not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility.
So Glow Up, is this a business or a program?
It's a program.
It's a program.
It's a program.
This sounds like something you came up with in the shower. You're in one day.
Actually, I did. I did. Not in the shower, but 3 a.m. I was woken up at 3 a.m. And this is actually something that I sat on for years because I was still going through some traumas and still going through building confidence within myself. And so I thought, there's no way God gave me this. Because GLOW actually stands for growing and learning our worth. And I added the up later. And so it's growing and learning our worth unapologetically on purpose. And it just came to me 3 o'clock in the morning. I sat up in my bed. I keep a notepad next to my bed.
Smart. Everybody do that.
I do. I keep a note because I'm also a writer. So I keep a notepad next to my bed, and I woke up 3 a.m, completely dark in my room, and I just started writing. And the Glow Up was born from that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I knew I loved you from the moment I met you. What a kindred spirit you are. That's such great advice. So what have you been doing with this Glow Up Blueprint?
I actually partnered with a local organization a few years ago that actually helps women who are displaced due to homelessness or, abuse. But there are young mothers, either they're mothers already or they're about to be mothers that were homeless.
They need support and help.
And so I partnered with them.
What was the name of that program?
St. Raymond Society.
Say it again?
The St. Raymond Society.
St. Raymond?
St. Raymond.
St. Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Society. Is that through a church?
Local.
Is that a religious organization?
I do believe they are faith-based.
Okay.
But it's an actual independent organization. They have a house actually locally here, and then they have one in Jefferson City, I believe, and I do believe there's another one in Rolla. Gotcha. So it's just houses, and they have staff that, supervises, the women. And I really liked it because it wasn't one of those things where they had super harsh rules or, the women can come and go as they please.
Halfway houses and stuff.
They could come and go as they please. And, and they were interested in helping them grow. And I was actually put in the position through a friend of mine that we were working in another organization that we were building together. And I had given her the glow up just as a rough draft. Like, okay, I've been working on this. This is just a rough draft.
Like
I want you to
a handful of pages.
Yeah, I just handed her some pages. And I was like, I just want you to go over this. Tell me what you think. And the next thing I know, she calls me and she's like, they want you to come in.
This is beautiful.
And
this is gold.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I just gave it to you so you could read it. I didn't want you to turn it into anybody.
It's a rough draft.
Yeah. I had marks all over it and everything. And she was just like, no, they read it and they love it and they want you to come in and do it. And I was like, okay. So
you know what that reminds me of? The rough drafts for lyrics for famous rock songs. Rock, you see the cross outs and the word and the carrots and the words thrown in there. It'll go for $500,000. A Beatles song or a Rolling Stones song.
Highlighters all through it, marks all through it. Probably got some type of stain on the paper or something. Like, I'm like, here, you guys just read this and see what you think. And they're like, they want you. And I was like, actually ended up working with them probably about a year and a half, 2 years. And they actually ended up recognizing me at their annual banquet. I got an award as a rising star with them. And so I was like, okay, maybe I am on to something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
some confirmation.
That's how, it was awesome. It was awesome. And the ladies, I think I have 2 of them actually still keep in contact with me to this day. They always let me know updates on what's going on with them. One of the ladies I was able to help out with brand new furniture and she moved into her own place. And it was just it's really heartwarming and it makes me feel good. It gives me joy to be able to help like that. Like I don't need the money or anything like that. I always tell people my motto is have impact and make a difference. And that's just what I live by.
That's beautiful, Shadonica. That is one of the most important things in life, is to help others and get out of oneself. Mm-hmm. So let's start getting into the meat of the matter here. Trauma and suffering is a part of life. The Greeks knew this. They had tragedies and comedies, the 2 sides of life, the smile, the Janus.
Yeah.
So if trauma is inevitable, what are some tools for getting through it? Let's maybe use an example. Have a woman suffering from domestic violence. Let's go right into what you do.
Okay.
Maybe someone's had some childhood traumas, some horrible childhood traumas. What are the tools? What are the I want to say proven, but what are the things that in your experience work in helping this individual from the beginning? They're finally have the nerve to tell you or tell somebody about it, or show up at the shelter beaten. I mean, Tina Turner, who just died, she famously went to a motel room with 26 cents and the promise to the person at the front of the motel, the check-in, if you give me a room, I promise I will pay you back. And she got her room. So,
and that's an awesome example right there. Because if you think about that scene, first of all, she'd had enough.
Yeah.
Second, and she made a decision. And that's usually the first thing that we deal with, because you have to make that decision. That, okay, I've had enough and this is it for me. I'm moving on. I'm gone. And she ran, which is literally the same way I got away from my abuser. I ran with nothing but the clothes on my back. And after you make that decision, you also have to, I used to work for a shelter. So we would we would bring the women in and we would give them a 10-day respite where you could just
unwind.
Yeah.
Be
especially
safe.
If you have children, that's a lot. So you need a respite, take that break, take that time. But then you have to decide again, am I going to keep this mindset of scarcity, or am I going to commit to a growth mindset?
And an abundant universe.
Exactly. And I tell them all the time, this isn't going to work if you're only interested. You have to be committed.
Yeah.
If you're interested, okay, we might get some change. But if we're committed, we're going to get transformation. Transformation is permanent.
There's a famous line in a recovery program. It says, half measures availed us of nothing. We came to the turning point. We sought his help with complete abandon. Commitment, both feet in.
Yes. You have to be committed. And that's where I start. We made a decision, and now we have to commit to this decision that we're making. But it starts with the mindset first. Like, if you are not committed to changing your mindset, then all the work that we're going to do here is going to be null. It's going to be void. Like, you're going to go back into those same patterns. You're going to end up back into that same type of relationship, if not that same relationship. You're just going to keep repeating the cycle. And for me, it's about breaking that cycle, because normally, you know, when you look at the statistics and things like that, and the history, it didn't just start with your relationship. Usually there's some type of background in the family.
Old tapes, they're called.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for me personally, it was my mom. I've never seen my mom in a healthy relationship. Every person she's ever been with has been abusive to her. So
that button was installed from the moment probably before you were born.
Exactly.
You were being imprinted with that life view.
Exactly. I thought it was normal.
Right.
When it started happening to me, I thought it was normal. And I thought, this is what it's supposed to be. Because you also have to keep in mind, I'll back up a little bit. I was a child bride. I was married at 13.
Oh my God.
Yes. So.
Oh my God. Was that legal?
Yes, my mother signed papers. Yes.
In what state of the union?
Missouri.
In Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri.
That can happen.
Yes, that can happen.
I thought Florida was 14, and I thought that was the limit. Oh my goodness, 13. No. And was he a man? Was he an older man?
He was 17. He was 17.
Older, but not really a man.
Yeah, not really, no.
Oh my goodness. No. Oh, I'm peaked by that. Were you pregnant?
Not at all.
All right, so it wasn't forced. Well, gee, you're pregnant now. Let's get married.
No.
So
it was a thing where my mother was addicted to drugs.
Okay.
We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
Just me and her. She brought this guy home from work one night from her night job, and he never left. And she got seriously addicted. And it became to a point where I was really basically taking care of myself and raising myself. We went a whole year one time without electricity and hot water. I had to get food from the church across the street. I was showering at a neighbor's house. And I met this guy walking down the street one day. And we started talking, and he became my boyfriend, and he made it out like he was going to change my life forever, and it's going to be this fairy tale, and everything's going to be great. And he started making sure that I was making it to school. He was buying me clothes. He was feeding me, making sure that I got my hair done. And I'm thinking, oh, I hit the jackpot.
He rescued you.
Yeah.
On the surface.
Yes. Yes. But we have to be mindful. Like, when I reflect now, I'm big on reflection because I'm also a journaler. So I'm big on reflection. When I look back at that and I think about it now, there were so many red flags that I missed that I never paid attention to.
Yeah, you had some means. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, that was attractive.
Yeah. And when he brought it to my mom, she tried, she gave a little bit of pushback, just to kind of make it seem like it was, but she had no problem signing the papers.
And did the relationship become abusive?
Absolutely.
Once he was in a position of power and you?
Almost immediately.
Oh.
Almost immediately.
Wow.
As soon as he got me away from everything I knew, because he went into the military. And after he finished basic training and got to his duty station, he didn't even want to wait to get to his permanent duty station. He sent for me while he was at his school learning his trade. And we lived in a motel for like 2 weeks while he was doing that training. And the first 3 days I was there, he had already hit me for the first time.
So we have these. One of my first guests was Dr. Jerry Heisler. He's a psychologist and has just written a book on relationships. And we talked about these tapes and these patterns and how do we break out of them. So the first thing to do is obviously to recognize them.
Yes.
So we have these buttons, these tapes, these world views that this is the way life is. Mm-hmm. So how do you begin addressing it? So this person has to have a mind change,
Yes,
make a
definitely
decision.
a mindset shift. Definitely. And you have to, I became more of a thinker than a feeler because feelings aren't facts. And I had to get away from the emotions of it. Like I suppressed the emotions of it because I was in survival mode. You know, I was born into survival mode, basically. Like, I don't know anything other than survival mode. So I've never been a person to wallow or just, oh my gosh, I'm being abused. Or,
it's like, called the poor me's.
No, I've never been that, because it's always got, I gotta get it. I gotta go. I gotta move. I gotta take care of myself. I gotta make sure I'm good. I gotta make sure. And so for me, I became more of a thinker than a feeler. So we went through that for about 1.5 years while we were in California. And he became an alcoholic, which made him even more abusive.
Right.
And he ended up coming to one of our neighbors' house one day. And I could tell just by the way he knocked on the door that it was him. I was babysitting one of the neighbors. Like, when you're in that type of relationship, like, you tend to know and put to memory every single thing about that person, their voice, their laugh, the way they walk, everything, because you're always watching, looking over your shoulder, making sure you know that things are not going to get out of hand. And so I was babysitting, and the parents had came home, and then he came and knocked on the door, and I was in the kitchen making a sandwich for one of the kids, and I knew by the knock that it was him. And automatically, I took the knife and I slid it up under my sleeve.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I had on long sleeves in California because I had bruises all over me. So I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is going to be it.
You knew. Your spidey senses were telling you.
Yes.
So you put a knife up your sleeve.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I hope that doesn't get me in trouble now.
No. Then what happened?
Then he comes in and he grabs me by my hair and drags me.
Just like that.
Through their, yes.
No
and I had
build-up.
short hair then, like no build up. He just comes in, grabs me by my hair, short hair, and drags me through their house outside. And we begin to fight. And all I could think of, like, my eyes were closed because I was blocking myself. But all I could think of is, you got this knife, you got to get him up off of you. And the next thing I know, I just charged at him. And he put his arm up and I hit him right here. And I just took off running. Like, I ran, and there was like a convenience store that was across the street from our complex. And I just picked up the phone. At the time, we had payphones. Yeah. And I was just dialing 911, 911, 911. And fire truck came, ambulance came, cops came, and they arrested me.
Oh.
They actually arrested me. So but we had
that crazy bitch.
Yeah. So we both had to go to the hospital because he's bleeding, and during the process that I stabbed him, I had also cut myself. So we both at the hospital, and I'm handcuffed to the gurney. He's walking around just free, like everything's everything. And I'm like, okay, he was beating on me. Why am I being arrested? Mind you, I'm a juvenile. By then, I'm 14. So,
I'm
14.
Age of 14.
Yeah, so then they patched me up, stitched my pinky up and everything, and they took me to juvenile. And he let me sit there for 3 days until I promised that I would come home with him. Because at that time, all my family was back here. And we were in California. I knew nobody out there. I was forced to drop out of school, so I'm an 8th grade dropout. He was trying to get me pregnant, but that didn't, thank God, that never happened. And then finally, I was just like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I'm just going to tell him what he wants to hear so I can get out of here. So I told him that I would come home with him. We got out. And by that time, the military was so upset. They were just tired of dealing with his antics with the alcoholism and all that.
Yeah, they already knew there was a problem with this guy.
Yeah, but they never did anything as far as like his domestic stuff. They never did anything. They just, he'd go away, cool off, and come back, And so then finally they were like, okay, we're tired. We're fed up with this. You can either do an other than honorable discharge, or you can go to AA. To rehab. And he took the other than honorable discharge and decided he was going to stop drinking.
Right,
so he took the discharge, which was a blessing for me because we ended up having to come back home. We had to come back to Missouri. So when we got back, it was even more traumatic because when we got back, we moved into his father had a 2-story house, and we moved into the upstairs part of the house, and he kept me locked up there for 2 months.
Oh, Jesus.
And finally, one day, one of my classmates, and I don't even know how she found me, but one of my classmates called the house to speak to me, and she had 2 of our other male classmates on the 3-way. That was back when we used to do 3-way. And she called just to catch up. It was, hey, we heard you were back, catch up. And he thought that she was trying to hook me up with one of the guys on the phone.
Your husband at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we got off the phone, as soon as I hung up the phone, he threw a glass of water in my face. And he was like, she was trying to hook you up. She was trying to hook you up. And I was like, no, she wasn't. We were all just catching up, old friends just catching up. And he was like, you're lying. So he went back to the sink and got more water. And this water kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And finally, it was where, like, my face I felt like it was on fire because I kept saying no, like I wasn't going to lie. But then I thought, okay, like, again, it's time to make a decision. The last time he went back to get water, I took off running, ran down the steps, stopped at the phone. By the grace of God, I had time to do this. Stopped at the phone, called my aunt.
Okay.
And I'm like, I need you to come get me. I'll be running down Paseo. I was like, I'll just be running. And I just ran out the house. And I knew he was behind me, but I never looked back. But I knew he was behind me. But I also knew I had to jump on him because he had to get dressed in order to come after me. Because he was literally walking around the house in his underwear at the time that this was all going on. So he had to actually get dressed to follow me. But my aunt came. I jumped in the truck. That was it.
Wow.
And I was 15. I was 15 when I finally got away.
Well, I think you qualify as an expert in trauma and abuse and getting out.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got a young lady. I guess it could be a young man too, but we can talk about in general terms here. So, surviving trauma, getting on with one's life. What are the tools that you have learned and that you now teach in Glow Up and the talks that you give to survivors? Can you kind of start how you develop a framework, something that's actionable that you could share with our audience?
Sure. Like I said, first of all, making that decision and whether you're going to be interested or committed. I had to make sure that I was going to be committed to my healing because I did not want to stay stuck there. And I knew that there was more for me. So for me, counseling, definitely. I am a huge advocate for therapy. I won't even talk to a coach or a therapist if they don't have a coach or a therapist.
Yeah. I think to be a psychotherapist or Freudian, you have to undergo Freudian analysis to become one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, finding that good support, because back then I didn't know anything about shelters, domestic violence shelters, or any of that. I didn't know that there was places out there to help you with things like that. So for me, it took a lot of prayer, like, God, please get me out of this. But also just being mindful. You have to start by being mindful of where you are and recognizing the fact that you did get away. We say survive. The definition of survive is to come alive through. And you have to recognize.
Yes, sir. Overvive, meaning to live, to be alive.
Yes, and you have to recognize you did get away. You got away. You got away from that. So now let's start building ourselves back up again. For me, it was going to get my GED. All the things that I wanted to do when I was younger I thought had been thrown away, and I was never going to be able to do those things and experience, going to school and dances. Like, I missed out on all of that. I've never stepped into high school a day in my life until my children went. So I never got to go to high school. I never got to go to prom or anything like that. So it was me, I had to rebuild myself. And I had to, like I said, I became more of a thinker than a feeler because I had to get in my mindset, this is not the end for me. This is not going to be the end for me. And this is not going to define me.
Beautiful.
This is not going to define who I am. Yes, I'm always going to be Shadonica, the survivor of all that trauma, but that's not going to That doesn't make me who I am. Like that's just a part of it. And for me, it's like I said, also it's, getting that encouragement, getting therapy, and also recognizing you have to do your own blueprint, figuring out, okay, what do I want to do now? Where am I at? Recognize where you are. Where do I want to go? And what's going to be my strategy to get me there?
Beautiful.
And that was the thing that I took the ladies through. Like, okay, where are we at now? You don't want to stay here. You don't want to be here. This isn't your end game. So what's the end game here? We start out with the win. What's important now? And you have to take it one step at a time, because it's not all just you can't just decide one day, that this is the end, boom, there it is. No, when you start baking the cake, you need the eggs, the flour, all that, then you got to blend it up. Then you put it in the oven. Then you get the ice in it. You got to wait for it to cool off. You get the icing in it, all that. You still got to wait for the cake. But eventually you get the icing and you get the cake. And then you can add some little milk to it or whatever you want to do.
What's the expression, like pray to God, but pass the ammunition, right?
Yep.
So let me unpack this a little more. So being mindful. Mm-hmm. Having a little time off to reflect, be amongst people that are supportive, that can maybe give you some feedback, and become mindful of your state, what's going on. Mm-hmm. Being in the moment.
Yes.
The eternal now.
Yes.
Like people say, well, what is it going to matter 1,000,000 years from now? Well, 1,000,000 years doesn't matter. The moment
this right here
may in fact be the whole point of life and existence, the eternal now. Mm-hmm. So getting into the moment and then using that opportunity to then develop plans for moving forward, strategy. Because, one way to kill somebody, Shadonica, is to take away their hope. Mm-hmm. And you give somebody hope, a goal, and a strategy in the now.
Yes.
That can start developing a plan and a strategy for this person for moving forward.
Yes. But also, don't do like I did and try to just suppress it. Like because those feelings are gonna come up.
Yes,
they're gonna come. They're gonna come back. The dreams, the emotions. Feel those. You still have to feel those. Like we're not made of steel. Like we're human.
Have a good cry.
Yes.
Like I help people in my practice with miscarriages and losses. And the people that say, I'm sorry for crying, I say, no, here's the tip. Have a good one.
Yes.
And you're going to have another good one later.
Yes.
Get to have the cry.
Yes.
Get it out.
Absolutely.
Share.
You still have to feel those feelings. And that's why I believe that support groups are very important. When we had support group meetings every week when I worked at the shelter, and those are very, very important. Very important. You have to be around people that are like-minded, but you also, the facilitator has to be really, I believe the facilitator has to be really top tier.
Somebody you can be honest with.
Yes.
You're not going to feel shame.
Yes. That's why I believe that women and men too that do these jobs, they're very important, because they had to go through their own trauma. And because I don't believe talking to someone who's never been through what I've been through, I don't believe they can help me.
No, they can't. Addiction counselors are all addicts in recovery. Trauma counselors, all people that have been through this. Mentors and anything. You can't be a CEO mentor unless you've been a CEO.
Exactly.
That's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yep.
So now you have somebody who's made a decision. They're reflecting. They're starting on a pathway. They have a strategy. Where does it go from there? Now
don't be afraid to execute.
And don't be afraid. That is so important.
Don't be afraid to execute.
Shadonica, when I decided, probably in the shower, to start this podcast, it was terrifying.
Yes.
Starting to buy this stuff, rent the studio, have that first podcast. It was like, blah, 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 blah. What am I doing here?
Right.
The imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? So to execute. So how do you get over the jitters of executing? Now, I think you and I, we talked briefly about personality types and Myers-Briggs. I think we're probably both extrovert on this.
I'm not actually.
No.
And that's what surprised me the most. I'm not. No, I am an INFP.
INFP?
Yes.
I'm an ENFJ. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yes, I was shocked.
Well, then how do you come across as an executor? Someone who can step up and swing. You go to the plate. Fear.
Fear. It's all fear.
And being brave doesn't mean you don't have fear.
Right.
It's executing despite being afraid.
Right.
So you got to execute. And sometimes it takes a little goose in the butt from a mentor. Get out there. Get out on stage.
That's why I have a therapist. That's why I have coaches, because I literally do have to be pushed to do things like this and my own podcast and things like that. Like, I have to literally be pushed because I am terrified. Terrified.
Well, that's good to know.
Like, I think it's Steve Harvey that say, if you're going through hell, don't stop.
Steve Harvey said that.
Yeah, keep going.
Steve Harvey, he's a hard worker. I saw a thing on his, a typical day for Steve Harvey from 5 a.m. and all the stuff he does, go from this to the workout to the show to the business to the blah, 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 blah. Oh, he's executing.
You have to execute and follow through and know that there are going to be bumps along the way, and that's okay. The obstacle is the way.
They're going to happen.
They're going to happen.
It's a given.
Yes, it's a given. They're definitely going to happen. And you're going to, you're going to probably fail at some things, and that's okay. Because failure, I don't think of it as losing. I think of it as getting a lesson. Fail is the first attempt in learning.
Yep.
So I think we don't take losses, we get lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. And after you've executed, just follow through. Keep following through. And don't be afraid to switch up the plan, because sometimes you might have to.
You know how you make God laugh, Shadonica?
Exactly.
You tell him your plan. You tell her your plans.
Exactly.
That's right. Exactly. So now you got somebody, they faced their problems. They're making constructive changes. They've had some help, so the old tapes don't bring them back. Do you know the concept of the crab bucket?
Yes.
The crab bucket. Yeah. Well, let me share with my audience the crab bucket. I'm from the East Coast, where they have blue crabs and big buckets of crabs. And if you know anything about crabbing, you throw the crabs in a bucket, and you don't have to put on a lid. Why don't you have to put on a lid? Because as soon as one starts crawling up the sides to get out, the other crabs pull them back down, don't they? It's brutal. It's tough to get out of that crab bucket sometimes.
Is. That's why we go from there to changing your environment. It is way, way, way important. So important to change your environment.
Please tell me more.
Whether you think it or not, whether you think and this is the same with addicts. Like, you can't go to rehab and then come back and go back and hang out. It's not going to work. What are you doing here?
Your job is a bartender. You're not.
Exactly.
They have trouble with anesthesiologists, too. They go back, they got fentanyl and Dilaudid and midazolam in their pocket all day.
Yep.
Might be a little tough. Not that it can't be done, but it's tough.
It is. And that's where a lot of the issues come with, women returning to the shelter. Because I saw that a lot. It was kind of like a revolving door to some women. Because you got out of here, you got back on your feet, we got you all together, and now all of a sudden you think it's okay to go back because
come back, baby. I'll change. I'll be different.
But it's like, you don't understand. You went away and got your healing, but they didn't go anywhere. They still stayed the same. Yeah. So you can't go back to that same environment. You have to switch up your environment. You cannot thrive in an unhealthy space. Like, you just can't do it.
It can't be done.
No.
You can white knuckle it only for so long.
It's
measured in seconds, maybe a few minutes.
Yes.
You got to change your environment.
And for a lot of people, it's a really hard thing to do. And for a lot of the women that I've worked with, like, that's the only person that they know there. Or they don't have any friends. They don't have support. And so you have to be willing to go it alone if you have to. If that's what it comes down to. Your safety and sanity, I tell people all the time, peace of mind is priceless. So your safety and your sanity, like, if you have to go it alone, go it alone. Go it alone. And
it is priceless.
It is.
I'll tell you another personal thing. I'm in my 60s now. Got a little nest egg together. I got out of the stock market. It was driving me crazy. I'm losing money in a money market, but you know what? I'm getting whatever low ball percentage, and I can sleep at night, Shadonica.
And you're not on your phone every 2 seconds.
Oh, every time gold went up, the stock were up and down. Oh, it was hell.
Yes,
it was hell.
I know that. I know that feeling. I do. When I first started investing, it was the same with me. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put this. Took the app off my phone. Like I put it away because it's driving me crazy. I don't really know what I'm looking at anyway. I just know dividends and things like that. But I was like, I'm just gonna put this away because it's driving me crazy. I know exactly what you mean.
Mental health is fragile, Shadonica, and peace of mind is priceless. It's very fragile. Every day we have good attitude, and I can tell you. You know, when things are going good, it's easy to have a good attitude.
That's why you really need that support around you for the times when things are not going so well.
So support. Let's talk more about support. We can't do this alone. It takes a village.
Yes.
It takes a family.
Yes.
It can take religion. It can take community, fellowship, all these things.
Yes. I call it checking your squad.
The squad.
It's the 3 C's. Check yourself, check your squad, and check your skills. Check yourself first.
That is beautiful. Please unpack that for me. That is beautiful.
Yes. Checking yourself first has to do with everything we talked about in the beginning, like your mindset, where you are now, where you want to be, who are you, you know, because we have to reevaluate. You know, when you get away from stuff like that, you have to reevaluate. So we have to check ourselves first. Check your squad. Who are the people that you have around you? Who's in your room, so to speak?
Are you sticking with the winners?
Exactly. Who needs to be benched? Who needs to be fired? Who needs to be put on injury reserve? Like not right now. I can't deal with you right now, but I may be able to get back to you later after I go do this healing.
Firing is tough.
Yes, it is. It is, but necessary.
But necessary.
Very necessary. And checking your skills, that's when we get down to the last part, when we get to the improvement part of the program. Okay, let's check our skills. Because what do we want to do now? What do we want to do with ourselves now? Like some of them don't have a job because they've been kept in the home, having to raise kids
they
or
don't
whatever.
have an education or a degree.
Nothing. Yeah. So let's see, what do we know how to do? And what do we want to know how to do? What do we want to learn how to do now? And let's take the steps that we need to take so we can stand on our own 2 feet and be confident about our future.
There is an individual, I'm blanking on his last name. His name is Nick. And he did a podcast interview with this guy named Ben David, I think his name is. The title of the podcast is No Arms, No Legs, No Excuses. And Nick, he goes around the world. You might say, what's he good at, right? He can't shovel, can't saw.
I've seen him before,
Yeah. He's got a little paddle. One of his legs is a tiny little paddle. And the people with absolutely zero limbs look like the one person with one eye is the king among the blind, right? So it may seem I'm getting all choked up. I find him incredibly
he's inspiring. Yes.
So even if you think you got nothing, you got something. You've got something to offer. You've got something to share. You've got something to give that'll make the world a better place for other people. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Even if you have disabilities, you might have a super intellect.
Absolutely.
Everyone has worth.
Absolutely. We're all here for a reason. We all have purpose. We were all created on purpose, with purpose. So yeah, there's a reason for everything. There's a reason. Everybody has a reason for being here. I was just speaking with one of my massage clients the other day, and she was talking about wanting to do like a holistic coaching practice or something like, and she's like, but I'm not trained. I'm not this. I said, listen, you can be at a 7.
At a what? A 7?
At a 7.
A 7 on the 10 scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can be at a 7. And you thinking, oh, but I'm not a 10. But there's 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s, and 0s that still need you. You're still above them. So even if you're not a 10, you're a good 7. So all those people that are behind you, that's who we're trying to help. That's who we're trying to get to. You'll get to be a 10, and then there'll be 9s, 8s, and 7s. Those 7s that you used to be, they'll be waiting for you. But right now at a 7, let's get these 6, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s.
So how do you convince somebody that's just down in the dumps? They've been abused. They've had horrible traumas. They think they got nothing. Mm-hmm. How do you convey upon them their worth and give them hope and help them get through these traumas?
Mm-hmm. First of all, by sharing my story as much as I possibly can.
Share it. And problems kept inside or multiplied.
Exactly.
Problems shared or diminished.
You can't conquer what you won't confront. And I encourage them to talk about it. I encourage them to share their stories as well. Mm-hmm. And be okay with it taking time. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
Be okay with it. Have the cries. Like you said earlier, have a good cry. Definitely. But I encourage them, and I tell everybody, I don't make any guarantees. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing, but I will hold space for you to find your own solutions. I will hold space for you to feel what you're feeling, what you need to feel. Mm-hmm. But just know that after a little while, we're going to get gangsta. Okay, we're gonna get gangster and we're gonna knock it out of the park.
We're gonna execute.
Absolutely, we're gonna execute. I will not let you wallow around me. I will not let you stay in that mindset around me. You won't be able to be around me anyway and not want to grow, because that's just what I'm about. So
surround yourself with the winners and those that inspire you.
Yes, check who's in your room. Kick out who needs to be kicked out. And sometimes, like I said, we have to go it alone. But that's okay. For me personally, it's okay for me to be alone because I know I have God and I have a good relationship with him. We talk to each other. We talk like homies. So I'm fine with being alone. But I do have my support. I do have my circle of friends, my family, my husband, my children, so I do have a really good team, a really good circle around me. And I do realize that some people don't. And I believe that's where I come in. Because I can be your team. I can be your team for as long as you need me to be.
Oh, what a blessing you are for the community, Shadonica. How important is employment?
Very much so.
Tell me about employment. How do you get in when you got no degree, you got nothing, you're living at, what was that movie? Happiness. Something about happiness.
In the Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. He's living in a bathroom with his boy.
Yeah.
Out of a bathroom, and he takes him to daycare. Mm-hmm. And he saw the stock. He saw like somebody drive up to the stock exchange in a Ferrari, right? And he asked the doorman, the valet or whatever. What does this guy do? He's a stockbroker. And he says, "I'm gonna be a stockbroker." And he's living in a bathroom with his boy. A single daddy.
That was persistence.
Persistence.
Definitely persistence. Like somebody said to me just recently, like, it's not always the people that need it that get it, but it's the ones who are persistent. And that spoke volumes to me. Like I had no education. I had to start from where I was. Mm-hmm. So I came here to Columbia when I was 16, and I had to start from where I was. No diploma, no nothing. But I decided I'm going to sign up for this GED test. My dad drove me around. I didn't even have a driver's license. My dad drove me around to get applications from fast food restaurants. I never had a job. I think I had like a job at Royalty Fund for like a month or something. But that was it. And that was it. I had to start from where I was.
What was your first real job?
It was Royalty Fund. But my first real job, oh my gosh.
What'd you get? Were you flipping burgers? Was it fast food?
Yeah, Dairy Queen.
Swirling the custard.
Yeah, with the little curly Q at the top. I was a master at it. I ran the drive-through, okay? That drive-through belonged to me.
Because you rose to it.
Yes.
You lived with integrity.
Absolutely.
And you did the best you could, no matter how. There's nothing menial. There is nothing trivial. There's nothing inconsequential. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, you should do with integrity and honesty and to the best of your abilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I worked that job. I worked that job because it was empowering to me.
Yes.
You know, I've been told I was stupid, I was dumb, nobody was ever gonna love me, nobody was ever gonna take care of me, nobody was ever gonna want me.
These old bullshit
all those
tapes.
things. Yeah,
These
I was
old
told
tapes.
that.
They were lies.
Absolutely.
They were lies.
Absolutely. Yep. So I worked that job and I just kept on. I got my GED, just kept going. Just kept going.
Then did you go to cosmetology school?
I did go to cosmetology school.
In Mexico.
Yes. Yes.
Mexico, Missouri. Missouri has towns named after Nevada, Versailles,
Louisiana, Paris. Yeah.
Memphis.
Yes, I did.
Mexico. So you continued to better yourself and grow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I remembered, like I said, I'm a big journaler and I reflect a lot. And I remembered my dreams and my thoughts from when I was a child. My dream was to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher and Diana Ross at the same time.
Oh, I like it. I love that. I love both of those.
So I remembered, yeah, that's what you wanted to do. So you can still do that. And I remember telling my daughter this one time, like, I wanted to be a teacher. You know, this is not what and she's like, but Mom, in a way, you kind of are. So, I mean, I realized I don't have to be in a classroom to teach people things and, you know, give out knowledge.
You're teaching us right now, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
So it's a journey. So I think by being an example, you've got someone down in the dumps. Their bruises are still fresh. Mm-hmm. They've been told they're worthless. Life is oppressive. Life is hard. So by example, you can show that life can be abundant. Mm-hmm. There can be failures. There can be setbacks. Mm-hmm. But together we can
also
move
let
forward.
You know that it's your right.
Tell me more.
It's your right. It's your birthright to be successful.
To be successful.
To be successful and live an abundant life and have the desires of your heart. Like, it's your right. So don't let anybody come into your life and tell you that you're not worth this, because you are. Like, you are worth. God doesn't make mistakes. So you are here. Yes, you went through that. Yes, you did. And it was hurtful. It was horrible. It was terrible. But you came out of it.
I think this is touched upon by what's called prosperity doctrine in some of our Protestant Christian faiths. I think they take it too far that, hey, I'm in my mansion, I got mine, you know, screw you, or here's some crumbs. With responsibility and success, you know, with success comes responsibility to share. But I think there is a blending of these two things. So you can give everything away and be worthless, or you can be prosperous and share and give back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you're hitting the sweet spot on that. Yeah.
And that's when I feel the most joyful, is when I'm giving back.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. I feel wonderful doing that. Like, and that's why I had to be pushed to even charge for coaching, because I just feel like I told you in the beginning, I've been doing it all my life for free. So it's like, I don't really feel comfortable, but, you know, you still have to make a living, and you still I would like to continue to be able to invest in myself as well. So, you know, you have to do that, but I give way more than I receive.
Yeah.
Way more. And that makes me happy.
I heard a wonderful a quote attributed to Plato, 200 BC or whatever, you know. Goal in life is to not get more, but to need less. You know, and I know in India there are holy men, maybe not holy women as commonly, who live in a robe and a bowl and maybe some sandals, and they just go around and people feed them. They put out their bowl, they are fed, and that's all they need. That's extreme. I don't think I could do that.
No.
I'm not that enlightened yet.
No, I'm not there yet. No, I'm not there yet.
So nobody is beyond help. Obviously, there's pathological people with psychiatric disease. I hate the term damaged goods, but everybody knows what that is. We're all damaged goods to a degree, but are we beyond repair? I guess it's worth a shot.
Absolutely, it's worth a shot. Absolutely. I don't think you are operating in your full purpose if you're not trying to be better. I believe in evolving and learning. I believe we should always be learning and evolving all the time because times change, things are different. You have to go.
Yes.
You have to go with it. And if we're not learning, you might as well be dead.
You might as well be dead.
Yeah.
I think there's a quote by a woman named Marguerite Fuller. This was one of my late mother's favorite quotes. It said, and Marguerite Fuller said something like this: I realized early in life the only object or the only goal was to grow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's why I tell my girls, keep growing and glowing.
Growing and glowing.
Growing and glowing.
Oh, that should be the thumbnail for this.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the new title for this
Growing
talk.
and glowing.
I wanted to be surviving trauma, but that's kind of a downer.
From surviving to thriving. Absolutely.
Survive. Oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the title.
Absolutely.
From surviving to thriving.
Mm-hmm. I was able to publish my story in a book in 2018, so I'm an author, which was one of my goals when I was a kid. I always wrote short stories and essays and stuff like that, so I'm a writer also. So I was able to do that and got a chance to speak at the conference in 2018 as well.
Which conference?
It was actually a conference that they had put on for the release of the book. And the name of the book is called Womb Sisters Chronicles. Womb as WOMB. Women Overcoming Men Blues. Yes. Womb Sisters Chronicles. I'm in volume 3.
Chronicles, volume 3.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And it is available on Amazon.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm going to share a personal story. In the middle of my life, I had a horrible, traumatic loss. The most important person in my life died suddenly. Horseback riding accident, out of the blue, the phone rang. And there it was, the new life. And it almost killed me. I almost died of grief. Now, 25 years later, I can kind of speak about it. Children are burned and abused and raped and stolen and trafficked. And many people carry these horrible traumas with them. What is your experience? What are your words of wisdom and experience for a person dealing with a gut-wrenching, life-altering trauma that seems, certainly at the time, to be overwhelming?
When I find myself in situations like that, I tend to listen more than I talk. Because a lot of times I realize that that's what people want the most, is for you to just be there and
to
just
be heard.
Listen. They just want to be heard. And I don't try to come up with some motivational speech or anything like that because it's hard. Grief is hard.
What can you say to somebody who thinks that God hates them or that life's not, you and I know life's not fair. There is nothing. Justice is a synthetic idea. But when you're in it, you think, what's the point in living? If it hurts so much. So the first thing you can do for a trauma survivor is listen. Then what do you do to help them?
Listen, and I would offer up words of encouragement. You might not feel like it right now, but it's going to be okay. Understand if you don't want to hear that. Understand if you don't believe that. But eventually, we are going to have to visit that. I share my story of losing. I've lost some very important people in my life. I don't know if you noticed, my brother is on my shoulder.
Is that your brother? Is he passed?
He was murdered in 2018.
Oh, so that's still fresh.
Yeah. So
what was his first name?
His name was Robert, but we called him Alfred.
That's Robert Alfred.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was your brother?
Yes. Yes, he was murdered due to gun violence. And it was a very, very huge blow to my family. He was, on my dad's side, he was our only brother, my dad's only son.
Were your parents alive?
My dad and my mom both are still living.
To lose a child.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my dad, that's pretty much what he always says, like, you're not supposed to bury your children.
No, you're not supposed to bury your children.
Yeah.
It's okay burying your parents. That's the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've experienced my own bout with grief, losing my brother, and then a couple months later lost my best friend all of a sudden.
Oh,
So 2018 was like a really rocky year, even though I accomplished a lot in 2018, but I lost a lot as well. So grief is hard. It's very hard. And I won't even pretend like I know what to say or what to do. All I can do, like I said earlier, is just hold space for you to do what you need. Like, I will listen, I will hear you, comfort you in any type of way that I can, but I won't even begin to even act like I know how to fix that.
But you can offer your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, I think people say, "Oh, it's been 2 months, get over it," or "It's been a year, get over it." Tell me more about the bullshit that grief that grief has a certain amount of time.
There is no time
to heal.
There is no time, and I tell people that you take all the time you need. Don't let anybody put a time limit on your grief, whether it's the loss of life or the loss of a relationship, the loss of anything. Don't let anybody put a time limit on your grieving process. You do what you need to do. Do what you need to do to help you. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be just you. Like, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be there to make sure your bills get paid or you got food or whatever. It's just you. So do what you need to do. Don't ever let anybody, and don't you put a time limit on your grief. Because you can think you're over it and be walking along one day.
Yeah.
And boom.
It'll cold cock you out of nowhere. The fountain's open.
Absolutely.
The littlest thing can remind you.
And let it go. If it does, let it go. Let it flow.
I heard recently that grief is love with nowhere to go.
Yeah. But I also heard that grief is the highest form of love. Like, it's the highest expression of love.
Yeah, if you didn't care about them, or
you wouldn't do what you do to remember. Like, you see people, like, on the anniversary of someone's death, and remember, let's RIP or remember, or let's do a balloon release or a candlelight or something. That's the greatest form, expression of love is grief. I heard that just probably about a year ago.
I love it. I have an acquaintance, and it's a small world. I won't say too much, but she lost a daughter and has a granddaughter that she's raising. And every so often she puts something on Facebook, some celebration of the life of the lost person. And they keep coming. And I understand that this person may share that for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
It may not just fade away into the background. It may be a defining part of her life. I know it's a defining part of my life.
Especially when it's a child. Like, I've lost a child.
Oh, what it did to my parents. Oh my God.
Yeah. You never.
Oh my God.
Never.
You never get over it. So maybe that's another take-home message. It's okay to not get over it.
Yes, absolutely.
It gets a little smaller. One of my heroes, a guy named Ram Dass, he talked about these horrible monsters that eventually just become little gnomes that come to tea from time to time.
Time to time, yep.
They come to tea.
And it's just to see, have you healed from that yet? Or have you, are you just, that's how things are. That's how they are. They just come back just to kind of irritate you a little bit, just to see if you're going to be moved by it, And
that's okay.
That's okay. That means you're still here and you still got some work to do. That means you're still here and you still have an assignment. Don't forget about your assignment. So
yeah, I've heard there are no bad feelings. There's pleasant feelings, there's uncomfortable feelings, but there's no bad feelings because they mean you're alive.
Yep. And that's one of the things that I try to get across to my massage therapy clients, which is another reason why I'm going to be switching not really switching up what I'm doing. I'm still going to be doing massage therapy, but in the coming weeks, I'm going to be incorporating some coaching sessions into those body working sessions because I didn't realize, and I've been a massage therapist for 10 years, and I didn't realize that a lot of people don't put the two together, the mind and the body.
Oh, there's Alexander. there's Alexander. There's Feldenkrais. These people knew that when you touch a certain person a certain way, that comes out. It's an artificial distinction, mind body. We are mind body.
Absolutely, and you have to realize that they go together. It goes together. Yeah. You can't, because I noticed that I would have a lot of people that would come in and expect, now you've been walking around with this chronic pain in your neck and your back and your shoulders for 2 months. Right. And you think it's just a physical thing. But then when I get you to talking, it's so much more than just this physical thing. It's so much more than just the chair you're sitting in. It's the thoughts that you're thinking. And the trauma that you've been holding in. The Body Keeps Score. That's actually a name of a book, and I can't think of the author.
The Body Keeps
Score.
Oh,
I cannot remember the author's name of that book, but it is a book, and it's an amazing book, and I think everybody should read it because the body does. We hold trauma in our bodies. We store energy in all the different areas of our bodies. Trauma, pain, all that. It starts up here first. And even I noticed that I needed to really dig deeper into this when I had a client cry on my table for the first time.
Oh, yeah. That's
when I knew, okay, I need to take this another step further. I need to go a little bit further with this body working thing. Plus, my body has started screaming at me, the carpal tunnel, all that stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to quit doing this because I know there's still some work that I need to do in this niche. So let me add to it. So I started doing more research, and I came up along those books and just started really seeing how the body and the mind everything's all connected. Sickness, all those things, everything starts in the mind first. And
which is part of the body.
Exactly. And you will be surprised how many people don't get that. And I'm just like, no, I've broke session before. Because somebody is on my table. Now, you came in here to relax and get some relief and all this, but you're not relaxing. I'm not going to do all the work, okay? I can't do all the work. And I will break session and be like, okay, what's going on with you today? And the tears just...
There they come.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. And it's okay for us to talk about that.
And now you can receive your... gifts.
Yes, you have to put yourself in a position. And I tell people all the time, receiving a massage is a lot like receiving a blessing. You have to position yourself to get it.
Yep.
You can't get on my table and expect me to break a sweat and throw my elbows all in. Nah, it doesn't work like that. We got to work together.
And by the way, your body work is a blessing.
Thank you.
Shadonica came to my last Christmas party with a chair and gave blessings to my staff and their families.
Yes.
It was what a gift.
That was a lot of fun.
What a gift. So Shadonica, this we've talked about the really tough stuff, and I asked you the really tough question I was almost afraid to get to. I almost turned into a blubbering idiot, but I got through it. Clearly, I'm growing as a human to be able to talk about these things. So, what's next for Shadonica? What are your projects? What can you share with us? And eventually tell me, let us know what things you're doing so we can put some links on the bottom here about some of your projects coming up and things that you're doing.
Sure. I'm going to be relaunching the Glow Up Blueprint podcast soon.
Okay. Will it be video or just audio?
It's just audio for right now.
Audio podcast.
Audio for right now.
Glow Up Blueprint
the
podcast.
Glow Up Blueprint. It's actually out now, but we've taken a break to get the format together and everything. So you can actually go and listen to some older episodes right now.
Okay.
But we will be launching new episodes pretty soon. And I'm working on a book.
Oh.
Yes.
And do you have a title yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine.
Not yet. I got a few things going because I'm actually working on two simultaneously. And one of them is called Help, I'm Happy and I Don't Know What to Do.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I tell you, man, I love this. Somebody, if an average person, average means Joe Blow, Mary Jane, whoever wins the lottery, they're happy for like 20 minutes or a couple weeks, then they go back to their usual state of misery. Shortly thereafter, it makes no difference.
Yes, this is going to be mainly geared toward what to do after you've come out of survival mode. As we mentioned at the beginning, I just recently got married, and I'm in a healthy, happy relationship, and I don't know what to do with myself. So
because he's not beating you.
He's not beating me. He's not controlling me. He's not controlling the money. He's not like none of that. Like he treats me like a queen, and I don't know what to do with that.
It's a new pattern. Your old, quiet little old tapes are going, wow, this isn't. Oh, when's the axe going to fall? The shoe going to drop?
Yeah.
So you're still very involved in Life is Sweet massage therapy
I've
studio?
been there for almost 4 years, I believe.
Are you an owner or?
No, I'm just a therapist. Is there
an owner? Is it a private business? So there is an owner.
Yes, there is an owner. Yes, there is an owner.
And I think they have a Facebook page.
Yes, Life is Sweet. www.lifeissweet. You can go there to book an appointment, book a session with me or some of our other great therapists.
You've got some great therapists there. I know some of them.
Yes.
All with kind of different approaches.
That's what I love about it too.
From the core or from the...
Yes.
Oh, I don't even want to go into all of that.
Yeah.
Well, with that, Shadonica, I just want to say I've learned so much from you. You are a blessing. You're a gift to the community. You're a gift to all the women that are getting through tough times. You're acting as a role model and giving back and moving forward. So I want to say what a pleasure it is to talk to you. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
What a pleasure.
This is exciting. Thank you.